thinking? Like whalebone or?
Yeah, I was thinking more like Wood, like George Washington, just because I want to be like he's my hero. So
George
getting
Washington's
closer.
your hero?
Yeah, dude. I mean, that guy came over.
Wow.
the-
Wow. Okay, go ahead. Explain to me why. And then I'm going to tell you why you're wrong. Go ahead.
You're gonna try. All right. George Washington was the definition of an entrepreneur and a capitalist.
Okay.
I love the fact that he stood up with, became the general for the United States Army, right?
Here
Almost
comes
lost
General.
several times.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Like,
Okay.
got lucky,
Mm-hmm.
per se.
Mm-hmm.
And then they asked him to be king.
Yep.
And this is how much of a badass George Washington was.
Okay.
He said, I don't want to be king.
Yep.
They said, well, we need you to be, whatever, right? So he said, well, great, you can call me a president, right? But I'll be a president. I don't want to take a salary. But I do want you guys to pay for all of my travel expenses.
Okay.
And what was the president job originally? Foreign trade.
Okay. I'm tracking.
The man made like future stated billions off of the United States people. Like through writing off his travel and everything else. Like he would buy things as gifts while he was in foreign countries and have them shipped back on the US dime because they were gifts.
Okay.
Like, I love it.
I have two things to say, and I'll keep it brief. One, your hero is a liar because he did cut down that cherry tree, and we all know it. Okay? One. Two, if this is your way of trying to talk me into DES paying for all your travel and your gifts, I feel like there was a better platform for you to make that ask for. I'm just throwing that out there. I appreciate the hustle.
Was it that transparent?
You lost me whenever you said you thought he was smart because he had them pay for all his travel. And the second you said that, I was like, oh, okay. Okay. I hear you. I mean, at the end of the day,
they paid for his ship. I mean, you could
do
buy
what you
me a
want.
car
I'm
as
not
a
buying you a
CEO,
ship.
right?
We're not buying you a ship.
Maybe an airplane. Maybe a small one.
You know what? You got it. No problem.
A toy airplane shows up at my house today. Huh?
Lego airplane on the way to you, Bubba.
Well, all right. Well, welcome back to Desk Talks. I'm your COO, Chase. I am here with the CEO, Rob. How you doing today, man?
Dude, I'm great. I'm great. It's a great Thursday. I love the energy here.
I love the energy too, man. It's a beautiful day here in Kansas City. I woke up to it being around 60 degrees.
Yes.
That's awesome. I love the fact that summer is starting to go back where it belongs, which is away from me.
Texas didn't get the memo yet.
Yeah, no joke. That's why I was down in Texas with you last week, and I was down there just absolutely dying.
Yeah,
Could not
it was
wait
the worst.
to get back north.
Yep, it was the worst. And I don't know whose idea it was to walk around a college campus in jeans. But those guys need to get out.
They need to get out.
They need to get out.
Stop it. They're trying.
Yeah,
too
we need
hard,
a
right?
stylist for DES. So, as Chase likes to say, desk talkers, if any of y'all are stylists and you can dress me for weather appropriate clothing, I'd appreciate it.
Business casual, weather appropriate. I mean, there might be a market for that here at Desk. I don't know. Well, hey,
why not?
let's kick it off. Let's talk about some news. Rob, you had some news before we came on that I thought was amazing. Can we talk about that? Like,
Yep.
amazing in the fact that yeah, hit it
Yeah,
with us and
well-
let's talk about it.
Yeah, so I was on Military Times, and what we're talking about today, a 4-year traditional degree versus skilled trade. That's what we're covering today. Well, I was on Military Times and I opened up this article. It was written on August 15th. It says opportunities for veterans are abundant in skilled trade. So I'm just going to read you the first little synopsis here.
You said
says
in
I'm-
skilled trades, right?
In skilled trades, yes. So America has a trade career problem, not enough qualified workers to fill jobs, and fewer young people over the years seem inspired to enter the field. A report from The Hill in April revealed some alarming numbers. 1.9 million manufacturing jobs could go unfilled if the employment gap isn't filled. Bloomberg reported that the U.S. is projecting to be 550,000 plumbers short by the year 2027. According to the National Electric Contractors Association, nearly 30% of union electricians are nearing retirement, and aging workers are preparing to retire in careers such as construction and auto technicians. I look at that. This article goes into a lot more detail, and I won't bore you with that, but I encourage those of you who are interested in getting into skilled trades, you should do some research, because I think there are some real opportunities in that field right now, or in those fields. Excuse me.
We talk about trade traditionally, right? And I'm going to talk traditionally. I'm a child of the 80s and 90s. Okay, in the 80s and 90s, whenever we were growing up, our parents, pushed us to go to college. We were told that college was the only way to make a living, right? The only way to get ahead and to make a living, right? We're seeing, and from that article, it sounds like we're seeing a shift, right? We're seeing a shift from that 80s, 90s, 2000s, I would say, mindset of, high school, college, right? So I feel like here at DES, we should talk about that. What's the advantages and disadvantages, right? So the advantages of a 4-year institution. What would those be versus a trade school based off that article?
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think, whenever you and I were growing up, from a national standpoint, everybody wanted a college degree.
Yep.
Right? But now it's 2024, and everybody has a degree. You need a degree for most entry-level positions that possibly in the 90s you didn't need, an undergraduate degree to go, and not to be pejorative in any way, but, to flip burgers at McDonald's. You didn't need an undergraduate degree to do that, right?
Correct.
But now you do. Now you need an undergraduate degree.
As I understand it, it is preferred and not required.
Sure, and that's just just an example. I could be totally off base, but I'm just trying to prove a point.
Or let's just an even better example. I'm going to throw out here.
Yeah,
data entry. Data entry. They put down there for data entry that you need to have a college degree in order to do data entry, or to come in and do medical coding. Things like that have traditionally been a 4-year degree positions, which I think I've seen lately where those are becoming preferred and not required.
Well, yeah, and we talked about that a little bit last week, looking at, employers are valuing professional certifications and professional licensures over 4-year degrees, but I think the more important conversation is where the job market is headed and where opportunity exists, for individuals getting out of the military, coming out of high school, whatever the case may be. Those skilled trades positions, your HVAC technicians, your electricians, they make that's a great career, and they're very much so
great living.
Yeah, and they're in demand, as I just read. They're in high demand, and The demand for a 4-year degree isn't, and I don't know statistically, I would have to look that up, and I'm sorry I didn't prior to this, but we can see the demand for skilled trades is rising because we've pushed for so long. Everybody needs an undergraduate degree, and that's not the case. Really breaking into the topic for today, what's the benefit of getting a 4-year degree over your skilled trade? And I think for me, as I'm really digesting the information that's out there, look at it from the standpoint of if you want to become a lawyer, if you want to become a doctor, as these are just examples, then you're going to need to pursue that undergraduate degree. If your long-term goal, is you already know what it is. I want to be a medical doctor. I want to be a lawyer. You have to get that 4-year degree, right? Because if you're me, I got my undergraduate degree in psychology. I can do 50 different things with that undergraduate degree. Or I can go back and be specific, right? I can go back and get my degree in psychology, graduate degree, PhD, what have you.
Well, if I can interject here, I see your psychology degree where you can go do 50 other things. Those 50 other things might not be the highest paying things because you're not specialized. Would you say that is correct?
I would. Yeah, 1,000%.
So that would probably be, and this just for me graduating college in 2019 as an older, wiser learner, right?
Yeah, I love that.
Yep. When I graduated as an owl, as an older, wiser learner, I came out and I had a 4-year degree and it was a concentration like psychology, right? We've talked about that. So I could go and find 50 different jobs. The problem is that I wasn't qualified for all of them. I met all the minimum requirements, right? So the offering was around 40 to 50. And that's just kind of where I was stuck, right? Unless I go and get that, advanced degree.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you're going to be kind of, middling like most of us have been in our professional careers of just being stuck because we don't have the work history or we don't have the educational, foundation, having that graduate degree or the PhD to move up outside of middle management. But dude, imagine this. You don't have your GI Bill. You're just a regular person, not a military veteran. You go to college, right?
I'll never be a regular person.
You're a normie. You're a normal person. I know we don't know what that feels like, but you go back. Most people pay for college by taking out loans.
Yes.
So could you imagine if I go to a private institution, right? My undergraduate degree on average is going to cost me about $128,000. And then I'm getting out with my undergraduate degree and I'm making $45,000.
I'm sorry. I just needed a minute. I had a heart attack. Did you say a private institution? About 130 grand?
About 130 grand. I mean, you have to think about it. And you come out
making about 45 to 50K?
I mean, depending on where you go, not to really, we could talk about this for hours. But yes, because there's a lot more than just tuition that goes into getting your undergrad, right? If I'm a traditional college student, I have left high school.
Sleep somewhere.
You got to sleep. You got to buy that meal plan. You got to pay for parking. Like
you got to be able to get back and forth to class, right?
It's not cheap. College is not cheap, and the price of education is increasing. Okay, so flip that. All right, I'm coming out of high school. I'm coming out of the military. For me, we'll just use me as an example. I came out of the military. I have a wife. I have 2 young kids. I need to make money, right? I have a house.
Everybody's got to make money, man. That's a fact of life.
So one thing that I didn't know about, and I'm just trying to educate, one thing I didn't know about was skilled trade. Right?
I didn't either.
I could go to a trade school for 7 weeks, cost me $12,000, and I can come out after those 7 weeks as a certified electrician. I think we were just talking to a trade school and they said you come out as a journeyman. And on average, their graduates are making in the mid 60s. with
In the mid-60s.
with $12,000 worth of debt, and you're making mid-60s after 7 weeks. That whenever we were told that, like, I kind of got knots in my stomach thinking to myself, I worked for 7 years before I even came close to that.
Yep.
It's baffling. But if you look at that, like, you go to college, you go to an institution, not just for the education, because I think we said this last week as well. Educational standards are relatively evergreen across the higher education landscape, right? So you're going to get relatively, without factoring in class size and instructional style, the education that you're receiving is relatively the same, regardless of where you
it's
go.
Relatively standardized, across most
Right.
of your universities, especially state level, because it's all
Yes.
federal and it's
Yeah.
regulatory.
Yeah. And so you go to college not necessarily for the curriculum. You're going because of the network. And that could be a regional network, that could be a state network, or a national network.
That depends on what you're going to do, right?
Absolutely.
Like if I'm going to be,
Yes.
let's say that I want to go be an educator, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would it make sense for me to go, if I'm going to go back and educate, say K through 12, would it make sense for me to go to a privatized university to get my degree?
Probably not.
Probably not, right? But if you are, the top state school in the region, right,
Mm-hmm.
for education, that would make more sense to be able to go there. I mean, why not?
And it's like part of whenever I was working in higher ed, part of it was counseling veterans on, is this the right spot for you? What's your long-term goal? And what I always tell them, and I'll tell everybody here, you have to look at your education as a long-term investment. Does it make sense for me to get my graduate degree in education from plug in a private institution on the East Coast?
Yeah.
Does it make sense for me to pay $220,000 for this graduate degree in education if my end goal is to become an assistant principal at my local high school? Probably not. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No.
But from an investment standpoint, does it make
anything wrong with that? There is something right with that. I love those people. You are my people, by the way.
I do too, but you really have to look at your education as a long-term investment. Is this where I want to put my money? Am I going to get the return that I need, that I'm looking for? Is the juice worth the squeeze? Whatever analogy you want to use. If the upfront goal is to make money in a sustainable long-term career field, if I'm looking for stability from a career standpoint, maybe trades is the way to go. If you need money now, and if you're looking for a stable career, even now, I would even say that the skilled trades, that's a growing career field.
It's a growing career field off
because
the article you just read, because they were projecting for 2027 is what I heard you say.
And I've heard arguments.
And that's 30%, and that's just going to grow.
Yeah, and I've been in rooms and heard arguments about, the IT career field is growing. You're absolutely right. But you still have to have infrastructure to support that career field. Who do you think's doing that for you? When it's 140 degrees in Texas, because good Lord, it feels like it, and your AC unit goes out, that guy you call, that is your best friend.
Yep.
He's going to make good money on that call.
Good money to come out there and fix your AC.
To do something that you don't know how to do, and that you wouldn't know how to do. Anyway, I'm a big advocate of skilled trades. I think it is a phenomenal career track for people, over just checking the box with the standard undergrad.
So the military is considered a skilled trade. Okay. Whenever you go into the military, you come in. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Most of us come in as privates. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Come in as E1, E2. Most of us. You come through, you get skilled labor. Okay. You are being taught. Whenever you come out, you're considered a skilled person. Most of us reach the rank of in the Army specialist, in the Marine Corps, Lance Corporal, right? In the Navy, I think it's an E3, E4, depending on what your job is. right?
Mm-hmm.
Those are the areas where you're considered, in my opinion, you're considered to be a journeyman. Okay, you're not an expert, but you are proficient in your in your task, right? So whenever we're talking about these things, if you are an enlisted person, and not all of our audience is enlisted, if you're coming out and you want to continue and you enjoyed your lifestyle, trade schools might not be a bad place for you. That might be home. That might be where
Yep.
you find it. I liken it to like this. I was talking to my wife about this last night. Whenever I was working in the military, she was an educator. And whenever I got off the clock, now my days were a little longer, but whenever I got off the clock, I didn't bring anything home. I was home. Whenever my wife gets off the clock, she comes home and has papers and, everything else to do. Right? Which is nothing, there's nothing wrong with that, right? But that's her passion. That's where she finds happiness. I find happiness in a different way. I am going to work to make a little money so that I can go and play. Right? So if that is you, right? And you and you don't know what you want to be when you grow up. You don't want to be a lawyer, you don't want to be a doctor, you don't want to be an accountant, right? The thought of data entry terrifies you. Trades might be a great spot for you. I mean, there's a lot of trades out there that are incredible lifelong careers that will take care of you and your family.
Yep. Yep, more than I think a lot of people understand from a monetary standpoint. Your earning potential in the skilled trade side of the house, I think the vast majority far outweigh what you could get, from a regular, normal undergrad. If I'm just someone who holds a general studies undergraduate degree,
right.
But I do think, and I'm not trying to steal your duties here as host. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, Chase, this is going to be a 3-part series.
This is going to be a 3-part series.
You and I are just teeing up this conversation because we're about to have the smart people come in and talk to us. We have someone coming in from a trade school is going to come in and give us some education, and a great education. And then we have a professor from a private institution going to come in and wrap up this series for us. And I think both of those conversations are going to be eye-opening for a lot of people.
I think so as well, because you and I have been having these conversations with these educators, because they're both educators.
Yes,
and they are like, both of these two people have their finger on the pulse of what these companies and people are needing. And to have them on, we're super excited. Look out for us as we're gonna wrap up today's conversation, kind of tease you a little bit. We got some trades people coming up. We got some college. We got a professor coming over from the college who's going to talk to us. I agree, Rob. I'm super excited about these conversations. I'm excited about all of our conversations. I say it every time. It's one of those things. Whenever you get up and do something that you love every day, you get excited about everything. I get excited about everything. All right, Desk Talkers. Well, that is a mouthful of soup, is what that was. That was a mouthful of soup. Give me 5.